Hello everyone. We love the cinema for the interesting stories, the good acting, the quality camera work, the crazy special effects and the atmospheric soundtracks, and for the goofs, of course, especially if they're not easy to spot. In this case, you'll feel almost a treasure hunter who found a hidden chest. Well, we're ready to share our findings, so stock up on popcorn, sit back, and let's get it on. Pirates of the Caribbean. To date, the movie series about the adventures of Jack Sparrow... Captain Jack Sparrow has become pretty big. It now has 5 films and they don't want to stop. Of course, as in any adventure film shot on a large scale, Pirates is full of little mistakes. And to be honest, it seems that with each film there's more of them. But there were plenty even in the very first movie. Moreover, you can find them even in well-known and the best beloved scenes. For example, Jack Sparrow's arrival in Port Royal. Remember? This is the first appearance of the character on the screen, and God, Johnny Depp is amazing in his pirate role. Probably many fell in love with Jack from the first frame, especially when he came up to the shore on an almost sunken boat and epically stepped onto the dock. This moment led the audience to such delight that no one noticed him switching his legs in just a second. See it for yourself. Here he's preparing to go ashore with his right foot, and 1 second later, he sets his left foot on the pier. Titanic. What is the probability that there's going to be a goof in one of the most famous scenes in movie history? Oh, you probably know it, even if you've never seen Titanic, simply because it's parodied so often that almost every couple in love has a Titanic-style picture. Yes, we're talking about the scene on the bow, so romantic and recognizable. Before Jack was on the bow of the ship along with Rose, he had already been there watching dolphins in the beginning of the film. Even the camera angles are a bit similar, except that the bow of the ship is somehow different. But it's definitely the same place. Even such a large ship like the Titanic couldn't possibly have different bows, one for the dolphins and the other one for romance, which can only mean one thing. There were 2 fragments of the ship on the set, and nobody noticed just how different they were. But the scenes were probably filmed in more than one take. It. Everybody has already told and written about historical mistakes in the new version of It. Cameras hanging in stores, wrong cars on the streets. But these are just little details compared to the incredibly talented young actors and the charismatic actor Bill Skarsgård, who can be pretty damn intimidating. But we want to draw your attention to another goof, which appears literally at the beginning of the film, and the viewers most likely haven't even noticed. Bill is sitting on the bed and makes a boat for his younger brother. From the side, we see there are no crumpled napkins on the bed there, but after a second, the angle changes and there's a crumpled piece of soft paper in front of the boy. Okay, maybe it just wasn't in the frame before. So now the camera shows us Georgie, then Bill again, and now there are 2 napkins on the bed instead of 1. Oh, you think maybe you just quickly blew his nose using them? But it only took less than a second, and Bill didn't even have time to take his hand off from his face when coughing. So it's just another classic goof. Deadpool. Considering the small budget of this superhero movie, the first film about this chatting mercenary turned out to be surprisingly good. But even here, there are a couple of mistakes. Remember the moment when Colossus changed the main character to himself with handcuffs? Just for his sake, of course. First, Deadpool is sawing off his left hand long and hard, and then he grows a new one, also long and hard. But in between these scenes, there's a short scene of Deadpool falling and escaping in a truck. And if you put the movie on pause at the right moment, you can find an absolutely unexpected goof. Wade jumps off the bridge without his left hand. But a second later, from another angle, we see he doesn't have his right hand. But it's just a couple of moments during the flight, and Deadpool lands without his left hand again. Looks like one of the artists was playing with mirrors, but not very successfully. Lord of the Rings.
1 ring to rule them all.
1 ring to find them.
Oh, Jesus.
The last film of the trilogy, The Return of the King, was rather long. Even the theatrical cut is 3 hours and 21 minutes. The director's cut is even longer, over 4 hours. The numerous endings of the movie can tire anyone, and it seems that the actors themselves were no exception. So the elves, along with Bilbo, Gandalf and Frodo, are getting ready to go to the west over the sea, because the Age of Men is about to begin. The scene is very touching for everyone watching it. The characters cry and tell each other goodbye, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. And Sam apparently couldn't handle the drama and took off his vest, which he was wearing all the time. Well, how else to explain that it magically and suddenly disappeared? We doubt it was Frodo who stole it to remember him by. No, the main character has absolutely nothing to do with it. After a few seconds, when Sam finally parts with his best friend and returns to his wife, the unfortunate item of clothing is back on him. Marie Antoinette. The movie about the life of the French Queen Marie Antoinette was filmed in 2006 by Sofia Coppola, daughter of the famous director Francis Ford Coppola. The film won the Oscar for Best Costumes, which really are just splendid. But among this splendor of dresses, suits, and the hats of the late 18th century, you can find a seemingly invisible element from another era. The main character buys shoes, dresses, and jewelry, chooses fans, drinks champagne, eats cakes, and in general enjoys a luxurious life. There are a lot of beautiful, bright frames, and they change so quickly that it's almost impossible to notice this goof. Among the royal shoes, there's a pair of purple Converses. Of course, it's quite an old brand, but not as old as to be used by the Queen of France. However, it may not be a blooper, but just a strange Easter egg. It's not possible that the operator, the director, and a bunch of people on the set and outside of it didn't see these greetings from the 20th century right in the center of the frame. Or did they? Harry Potter. If you're a fan of the Harry Potter series or at least read the books, you probably know that according to the story, Harry's eyes are green, just like his mother's. However, in close-ups, it's clearly visible that Daniel Radcliffe didn't wear his contact lenses, so the movie version of The Boy Who Lived has blue eyes. This happened not because the actor was lazy, but because of the reaction of his eyes to the lens. Radcliffe simply couldn't wear them for too long, so the director decided not to torture the kid. In the end, the eye color isn't that important. Like in the book, the rest of the characters kept saying that Harry had his mother's eyes, which generally didn't raise any questions. The problem is that in the 8th part, there is a scene with the memories of Snape, and we saw Harry's mum in her childhood. A beautiful, clear close-up to confirm that Lily Potter had, brown eyes. And this isn't just color correction, because young actress Ellie Darcy Alden really does have brown eyes. So just why? Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Since we're in the world of magic, let's take a look at the mistakes of another film in the magical universe created by Rowling. There are not only fantastic creatures, but also many fantastic, mistakes. Remember the scene in the bank where Jacob Kowalski brings a suitcase full of baked goods and shows it to the banker? Do you see those cupcakes in the corner? When the frames change, they also change position several times. Or did Jacob just bite off a little every time when the camera wasn't filming him? And what about the dinner scene? Everyone was enjoying their food, but as soon as Newt gets up from the table, suddenly all the plates magically disappear. Of course, it can be some domestic magic, but come on, maybe the other guest was still hungry. And finally, the magic vest trick. Yeah, just like Sam's in Lord of the Rings. Look carefully. Here's Newt inside his suitcase wearing a shirt and a vest. Now for some reason, it's only the shirt. And now he goes through the door and the vest is back on him. Quantum of Solace. The 22nd James Bond movie was also the second one in the career of Daniel Craig. Looks like a typical film from the series. Car chases, shooting, luxury cars, and even the famous catchphrase,
"The name's Bond. James Bond."
And goofs, of course. But we're not here to talk about the geography of Bolivia and other things. Just look at that guy behind Craig. We know that when you see the cool 007 on a motorcycle, you're not exactly interested in examining the crowd, but believe us, it's worth it. After all, the guy's literally sweeping the air. The scene only lasts a couple of seconds, but you will remember it forever. Django Unchained. Quentin Tarantino is an extremely talented director with his own style. And for this, we can forgive him any mistakes, because they don't make the picture any worse. But it's still impossible to ignore these small bugs. For example, Tarantino treats historical facts quite freely. In one scene, you can see a copy of the bust of the Egyptian queen Nefertiti, the very one that was discovered by archaeologist Ludwig Bockart only in 1912. Meanwhile, the film takes place in 1858, long before the famous excavations of the ancient city of Akhetaten. And this is not the only example. Remember the awesome dynamite explosion of the mansion? No doubt it's a very cool and dramatic scene. The thing is, the dynamite used by Django was invented much later and presented to the public only in 1866. But who cares? Because everything's better with explosions, right? Michael Bay would approve. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.